Hi, it's Steph, and we're at the Home Depot. And they just received their early spring shipment of evergreen trees, evergreen shrubs, as well as spring flowering shrubs and beautiful ornamental trees. So let's go ahead and take a look at their mid-March inventory. And one of the first signs of spring, other than daffodils, the forsythia, this cherry yellow shrub, starts to wake up right when everything is still looking pretty drab and asleep from winter, and provides this nice pop of yellow. So this variety here is called the Linwood Gold. It's a flowering shrub. It's deer resistant and drought tolerant. It is full sun, hardy to -30 degrees, and it gets to be 10 foot tall by 10 foot wide. And this size container is a number 2 for $21.98. Dwarf Mugo Pine. Now, Mugo Pine is a beautiful evergreen. Look at the needles on this. And they put out these tiny little pine cones or candles when they put on fresh growth in the spring. This shrub here is the dwarf version of the Mugo Pine, so they stay a bit more compact. It is a full sun shrub. It is deer resistant, which is wonderful. And it says here that it gets to be 18 to 24 inches tall. And it needs a spacing of about 4 to 5 feet. I would say that this is not too accurate. I would say they get upwards of 3 to 4 foot tall and about 5 foot wide. So give these guys a little bit of space. I've had them in my garden, and that's my experience. If they're happy, they will get a pretty good size, even the dwarf variety. And they're hardy to -50 degrees. And this size here is a number 1 container for $16.98. Bird's Nest Spruce. These have a really cool shape. They get much wider than they get tall. And this variety here, it says that it's the Bird's Nest Spruce nidiformis, Pisces albis, and it is deer resistant. It's low maintenance. It gets to be 2 to 5 foot tall, and I would say that that is pretty accurate. And they need about a 6 foot spacing. Yes, they certainly do get, if I had to guess, the average size on these full grown is about 6 feet wide and 4 to 5 foot tall. But these are a great and very great shrub, very interesting evergreen, low maintenance, don't need any pruning. And it's cool because it does look like a nest, the way that it sort of sinks in the center. And these here are $21.98 for the number 2 container. This is a really beautiful evergreen. I actually have a couple of these in my garden. I had these junipers that I cut on for my winter containers that have this beautiful golden color and these upright branching habit. And I wasn't sure what the variety is, but as soon as I saw this, I knew exactly that this was the type. This is the Juniper Golden Joy. And you can kind of see how it has the golden tips, and they will get more golden with more sun. So these are a full sun shrub, Juniper Golden Joy, deer resistant evergreen. They get to be about 36 inches tall, and they need a 48-inch spacing, hardy to -30 degrees. These are beautiful. And this is a number 3 container for $26.98. This juniper is also beautiful. The Andorra Compact. It gets a really pretty bronzy color in the winter with the cold temperatures, and then it gets to be this green with a little bit of a hint of blue. So this one is a full sun evergreen shrub, and it gets to be 15 to 18 inches tall and 3 to 5 foot wide. Give it about a 5 foot spacing, has a mounding habit with arching branches, and it's hardy to -40 degrees. And these juniper are $26.98. Some arborvitae, and this one here is De Groot's Spire, Thuja occidentalis. And so what's great about this one, or what's a really cool feature of this particular arborvitae, is that it looks like it has multiple growth points on top. So it almost looks like you have a cluster of trees planted, but it's really just one, because they create those really cool multi-tips at the top. So this one is a full sun. Arborvitae do like proper water, so you have to maintain a moderately moist soil. They're a little bit drought tolerant, once they're pretty established, but in general, they do like consistent moisture. They need 24 to 36 inch spacing and hardy to -40 degrees. So that's a really cool one. These here are number 3 containers. That's what the shrub looks like, or the tree. And they are $29.98. Top here, they have that a variety of arborvitae called Jantar. It's a beautiful arborvitae. It has more of a golden color. And this one here is a number 3 for $34.98. Now, anytime that you're selecting arborvitae, a caveat is that they are not all resistant to deer, okay? And so you can end up with some pretty deformed trees if you have a lot of deer pressure in your garden. So you want to make sure to find arborvitaes that are more deer resistant. In my experience, the green giant arborvitae are the most deer resistant. Japanese Holly compacta. Now, these are a great alternative to boxwood. So if you don't like boxwood for some reason, you could always go with these because they look very similar. Okay, they have a very much a boxwood look to them. And these here are full sun. They're a full sun evergreen shrub. And let's see, they say that they get about 6 foot tall, so they could put on some size. And you need 6 foot spacing, hardy to negative 10 degrees. Now, these are some pretty big containers. Let's see, they're a number 5 container, and they are $44.98. But really beautiful, bright green, shiny foliage on these. And check out this cool arborvitae. Now, this one I would say is definitely a specimen variety. So you could plant one as a standalone and it would be a really interesting shrub in one of your garden beds. This is called the Western Arborvitae Whipcord. And look at that. It looks like someone's head of hair, almost like a waterfall. And it says they get 18 to 24 inches tall. They are a full sun shrub. They provide winter interest. And they need 24 to 36 inch spacing, hardy to negative 10 degrees. And this is a number 1 container for $19.98. I really love this one. It is so cool. I'm actually going to grab one. They have some hollies, and these here are called Blue Princess. And they are a number 3 container for $29.98. And with hollies, you need to have a male and a female in order for the shrubs to pollinate and for you to get berries. So let's go ahead and check out the specs on the Blue Princess holly. So here is the holly Blue Princess. It is a part sun shrub, deer resistant. It gets to be 5 to 10 foot tall and 5 to 8 foot wide, hardy to negative 20 degrees. So if you want to get these pretty berries, make sure that you also have a Blue Prince somewhere within 50 to 100 feet. Otherwise, none of these pretty berries. But it does have really beautiful, shiny foliage. It's a bit prickly, which is partly why it says that it's deer resistant. However, I will tell you that I planted a dragon, some kind of dragon holly this past fall, and because it had a bunch of new fresh growth that was soft, the deer did take out quite a bit of it. But I do believe that once they get more mature, they don't tend to prefer these leaves because they're pretty prickly. But hollies are a really pretty evergreen, and you can cut them for arrangements in the winter. There's still a berry holding on. Lots of blueberries, and this variety here is the Blueberry Sweetheart. It's a hybrid. They're a full sun shrub, and it takes a couple years before you get a decent harvest of blueberries. You also have to protect these, I find, because in my garden the birds tend to get to them before I do. But what's also really cool about these is if you wanted to integrate them into your mixed borders just as part of the landscape, they actually have pretty nice green leaves in the summer, but beautiful fall color. And in the winter, their branches get pretty red, so they do offer some interest in the garden, besides providing some tasty berries. So this is a full sun shrub. It gets 5 to 6 foot tall. It matures in summer, and you need 5 to 7 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30 degrees. And these are $16.98. We also have this high bush variety, Mini Blues, and it's also full sun. But here is, and there's the specs on that one, 4 to 5 foot tall, hardy to negative 30. Here's an example of the foliage I was talking about. This one held on to some of its leaves, and it's got a bunch of buds that are ready to burst open with the new foliage, but here is what it looks like in the fall. It turns to red. So it would make a really pretty shrub. They have some emerald green arborvitae smaragd, and these here, see, they don't mention that they're deer resistant, so I would be cautious on these. They get to be 12 to 15 foot tall. They're full sun, and they need 24 to 36 inch width, and they are hardy to negative 20 degrees and water 2 to 3 times per week until established. And they have 2 sizes in these. They have the number 3 container, which is $29.98, and then they have a smaller one. So the smaller one is just about a gallon or a little bit bigger than a gallon for $14.98. But something to keep in mind with these two is that you can use them in containers, these small ones. And then once they outgrow their container, you can transplant them to a place in the garden. But evergreens in containers are a great option because you can keep them in there for interest year-round. Some pretty pines. And these are some pretty big containers. So these conifers here are $199. Let's check out the variety. Beautiful needles. They have a little bit of a blue cast to them. And this is a short needle Japanese pine, Glauca brevifolia. It says it's a garden showpiece. It is a full sun tree. And it needs 25 to 45 foot spacing. So this gets big. Hardy to negative 20 degrees. So it is actually beautiful, but you need to give it some space. And yeah, it's a beauty. Of boxwood in stock, so if you're looking to create a hedge this spring, this would be the perfect time to have a selection of a good number of boxwood. So if you need something like 12 or 24, this is the time to do it while they still have plenty in stock. So this is a full sun shrub, the boxwood green velvet, deer resistant, and it gets 24 to 36 inches tall and 36 inches wide, hardy to negative 30 degrees, and these are $16.98. This is also a good time if you're interested in creating topiary, so that you have your pick of nice straight stems that you can start limbing up and shaping into your preferred shape of topiary. Some viburnums, another beautiful spring shrub. This is a part sun shrub. It gets to be 3 to 10 foot tall. It is deer resistant, attracts butterflies, and it blooms late spring to midsummer. Give it about 3 to 10 foot spacing and hardy to negative 30 degrees. Now it doesn't specify the variety of this viburnum, but this is a 3-gallon container for $24.98. Here they have a little bit bigger boxwood. This is the green velvet. They're deer resistant, 24 to 36 inches tall, full sun, and they are hardy to negative 30 degrees, and they need about 3 foot spacing. Now these are much larger. They're a number 3 container, and they are $34.98. If you've ever heard someone refer to boxwoods blooming, the blooms are pretty insignificant, and this is essentially what they are. These tiny little clusters of like this whitish green flower. Really cute though. And right after that, they push out a bunch of new growth. You'll see a bunch of new lighter green leaves popping out at the tips. Some heather, and this one's called Kramer's Red, and it is deer resistant, and it's a evergreen shrub. It keeps this foliage, this needle color all year, and then in the late winter, early spring, it pushes out these cute little blooms, clusters of blooms, and this here is $14.98. And they get to be 24 to 36 inches tall, deer resistant, blooms midwinter to spring, 24 to 36 inch space, hardy to negative 10. I've used these in my early spring containers, and they look really pretty. Lilac Mange. This is the first time I've seen this variety at a box store, but I believe this is a really great variety. I can't remember why exactly, but it might have something to do with the fact that the blooms might be larger or stay on the shrub a bit longer. One of those, but I'm happy to see it here. So this one is a full sun shrub, deer resistant. It gets 8 to 10 foot tall. And it blooms early to late spring, and it needs about 8 foot spacing, hardy to negative 40. And it is also all budded up. And these are number 3 container for $29.98. Sky Pencil Holly, a wonderful holly for vertical interest, has a really contemporary look to it. If you have a more modern aesthetic in your garden, these are a great option for the Sky Pencil Holly is in a number 3 container for $34.98. And let's see if we can get some more information on the Sky Pencil Holly. And here it is. It is a full sun shrub, Japanese holly Sky Pencil, deer resistant, provides winter interest, gets to be 6 to 10 foot tall. Needs 36 to 48 inch spacing, hardy to -10 degrees. If you live in the Northeast or somewhere that you get a lot of snow, you'd want to secure these or bunch them up with some garden twine over the winter months, because if it gets a lot of snow in the center, it could risk the shrub splitting. So just something to know. But these are a really beautiful vertical interest evergreen shrub. Some Japanese holly, soft touch. And this one here gets to be 24 inches tall. It is evergreen, full sun. It gets 24 to 36 inches wide and hardy to -10 degrees. Again, holly, a great alternative to boxwood. And these here are a number 3 container for $27.98. Here's a really cool variety of juniper. This one's called Dwarf Procumbens Juniper Nana Green Mound. It is a full sun shrub and it needs about 12 inch. It gets to be 12 inches tall. It's a good decorative ground cover. Now, ground covers are wonderful, and you can use, there are ground cover plants, but evergreens are also a great ground cover. And what that means is just it's a low growing shrub that will cover the area where you normally have mulch. These will then grow to fill that in. So over time, you would need less mulch applications because these would be doing the job of being your ground cover. So this variety here gets to be it needs 48 inch spacing. It's hardy to -30 degrees. So evergreens are a great option for ground cover because they stay this way, this color and form, all year round, versus the plant type ground covers, which will die back in the winter months. If you live in a colder region, of course. And these green mound dwarf junipers are $14.98. And they have these Itias or Itea. These, I believe, are the Proven Winners Itias. I think that's what the PW stands for, even though it's not in a Proven Winners container. And they're a number 3 for $24.98. Now, this is a great shrub in the sense that it has really cool fall color. It gets red like this in the fall. These have actually held on to some of their leaves. And then they get green foliage in the spring, followed by these white foamy looking flowers that are oblong. Really cool looking. So this is a great shrub, and they stay petite. So the little Henry, I'm pretty sure, only stays about 3 foot tall by 3 foot wide. Also known as sweet spire. And these beautiful shrubs here, these are also a low growing ground cover type shrub, and it is called the Creeping Juniper All Gold. Look at the vibrant color on this. Absolutely beautiful. Against some green, it just really pops. It's a great way to get some variety in your evergreens, is to have something yellow, something green, something blue. Looks really beautiful in a garden design. So this is a full sun shrub, Creeping Juniper All Gold. It is deer resistant. Gets to be about 12 inches tall. It is evergreen. And it gets 4 to 5, it needs 4 to 5 foot spacing and hardy to -10 degrees. And I'm going to pick up a couple of these today. Beautiful. And one of my favorite low growing blue shrubs that are evergreen are these here, the Blue Star Juniper. Look at the color on this. Absolutely beautiful. This is a full sun shrub. They stay very compact. They are deer resistant, drought tolerant. They get 24 to 36 inches tall, and they need 24 to 36 inch spacing, hardy to -30 degrees. And these here are a number 3 container for $29.98. Another one of my very favorite evergreen shrubs in my garden is this false cypress golden mop. I have a couple of these in my garden and I absolutely love them. Look at this bright golden yellow color. So much interest in the winter. This is a full sun shrub. It is deer resistant. It gets 4 to 6 foot tall, and it needs 36 to 48 inch spacing, and it is hardy to -30 degrees. And here's what I was saying about having different color evergreens in the garden. Some yellow, some green, and some blue. Throw in a red Japanese maple for some red foliage, or a red foliage shrub. Chef's kiss. And these here are the number 1 container for $16.98. Beautiful. Some Japanese pyrus. These are also great for late winter, early spring blooming. These are an evergreen shrub that put on all these little clusters of these bell-shaped flowers. These are the bloom buds that are getting ready to open. This variety looks like it's going to be a white blooming. There's one that's actually opening up right there. And let's see here. So this Japanese pyrus is called Purity. Yep, it's white blooming. It gets 36 to 48 inches in height. It is evergreen. It likes part sun, and it blooms mid to late spring. So some varieties bloom a little bit earlier. This one here is a mid to late spring, and it needs 36 to 48 inch spacing, hardy to negative 20 degrees. And this is a number 3 container for $29.98. Here's what looks to be a hedging type holly. This is Holly Hugadorn. It is deer resistant, part sun. And let's see here. It blooms mid-spring. Now the blooms on these are going to be insignificant, similar to those boxwood blooms that we saw, just these little tiny white buttons. And they get to be, let's see, 6 to 8 foot tall, 4 to 5 foot wide. And they have an upright vertical habit, hardy to negative 10 degrees. And let's see how much these are. This holly, or Ilex Hugendorn, is a number 3 container for $27.98. Something to note about these beautiful golden mop cypress is that the more sun they get, the more golden and vibrant they will be. You can see just by looking at the bottom of the shrub, anything that's towards the bottom that doesn't get as much sun is going to be much more green. So to get the best color, such as the one that you see on top, the tips that actually get sun will make them much more golden. And look at all of these flowering ornamental trees. There are shade trees, flowering ornamental trees, and there are also even some fruit trees left that they received a couple of weeks ago. But let's go take a look at some of these ornamental flowering trees and what they might have in terms of shade trees. Kusa dogwood. This is a beautiful flowering tree. They either get pink or white flowers, really large blooms, and just beautiful. So this is a full sun tree, and it gets 20 to 25 foot tall. And it blooms early to late summer, and it needs 25 foot spacing. And they are hardy to negative 20 degrees. These are a beautiful front yard tree, like a specimen tree that just stops traffic once it blooms. Beautiful. Another beauty, the Japanese flowering cherry. This is the Kwanzan variety, and it's got these bright pink blooms. It's a garden showpiece with outstanding color. It's a full sun tree, gets 20 to 25 foot tall, and it blooms mid to late spring, needs 20 foot spacing, hardy to negative 20 degrees. Now these are pretty large size buckets here. If I had to guess, this is probably a 25 gallon container. So you're gonna need some muscle to pick these up, and let's see how much they are. They are $130, and it's actually a number 15 container. They have some of these pear trees. These are one that you want to probably stay away from. Pear trees have been known to be pretty problematic. They split in the center. They can be invasive. So just do a little bit of research before you decide to purchase any kind of flowering pear tree. Heritage river birches. This variety is called Cully, and it is a garden showpiece, winter interest, and what provides the winter interest is its beautiful peeling bark, which I'll try to find an example to show you. But these are a full sun tree. They're also a good problem solver tree. If you have an area in your garden that stays wet, river birches love water. I actually planted one last spring, and they need 30 to 35 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30 degrees. These are a number 7 container for $69.98, and what's also beautiful about these is that you can get them in a multi-trunk variety, which I think offers even more interest. And here is an example of some of that peeling bark. And these beautiful cherry trees are already in bloom. Now these come from greenhouses and from warmer regions for the most part, which is why they're in bloom. It's actually a little early for our zone 6 to have any type of flowering tree in bloom other than witch hazels, and forsythia will start pretty soon. But this here is called flowering cherry okami. I apologize if I said that incorrectly, but it's a beautiful bright pink flowering cherry. It is a full sun tree. It gets to be 15 to 20 foot tall. It blooms in early spring and needs 20 foot spacing, hardy to negative 20 degrees. Wow, these are beautiful. Look at these. I just love these pink blooms. We gardeners are so anticipating the arrival of spring that things like this make us just so happy. They have some purple leaf plum Newport. This is also, it looks like a pink flowering tree. It gets 15 to 20 foot tall, has attractive foliage, full sun, and it blooms in summer. It needs 15 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30. And let's see how much these are. $110 for these, and they're number 10 containers. Yoshino cherry. I actually planted one of these in my garden last spring. Has these beautiful pale blooms. They almost look white, and they are a pretty good sized tree. They get 25 to 40 foot tall. They're a full sun tree, and they bloom early to late spring, and they need 25-foot spacing, hardy to -10 degrees. I'm really excited to see mine this year, see if it blooms. And this size here is pretty good size. Let's see how big these are. They're probably a 15 as well. Let's check the price. They are a number 10 container for $110. Also have some of the weeping varieties, these snow fountain cherries. These are really beautiful. They make a great accent or feature tree in a front yard. Eastern redbuds, another really beautiful early spring blooming tree. Now this one says it's a clump, but it's not. It's actually a single trunk, but a clump redbud would be beautiful. But it is a full sun tree. It gets about 20 foot tall, and it blooms early to mid-spring, 15-foot spacing, -20 degrees hardiness. Lots of large arborvitae. So they've just gotten these in stock, so they have plenty to choose from for your living fences. This would be the time to look for them and pick them up if you need some. This arborvitae variety is the one that seems to be more deer resistant, the arborvitae green giant. It has a bit more of a loose habit in terms of the stems or the foliage here, but they are beautiful. They grow very, very large, and they get to be 30 to 50 feet tall, and they need 12-foot spacing, hardy to -20 degrees. These here are number 3 containers for $29.98. Now these grow pretty quickly, so you can certainly get the smaller ones, and with time they will pick up speed and be humongous in just a few short years. Our neighbors actually planted a whole living fence of them, and they were maybe a 4 or 5 foot tree when they planted them, and now they're probably about 20 feet, and it's only been about 4 or 5 years. A beautiful magnolia about to open up and bloom. Look at these furry buds. These are gorgeous. This is the magnolia. I have an Ann in my garden, but I believe this one's a little bit darker pink, and this might be the Jane. Let's take a look. Ah, yes. So Magnolia Jane, it is deer resistant. It is a full sun tree or shrub, depending on how you keep it pruned. And it blooms in late spring, and needs 15-foot spacing, hardy to -30 degrees, and it gets 10 to 15 foot tall. So either a small tree or really large shrub. The magnolias are a 7 container for $59.98. Of smaller dogwoods too, of the Kusa dogwood. So a good option about buying the smaller ones, if you have the time. If you're starting a fairly new landscape, it might be worth your while to pay a little bit less and get the smaller container. Also, smaller ones are just easier to plant in general because the root ball is a lot smaller. But if you want instant impact, it's always best to go for the bit bigger tree, or at least the biggest tree you can afford and safely carry. Here are some more river birches. You can see they have these. One of the more characteristic features of this is obviously the bark, which provides a lot of winter interest. But it's so beautiful when you can have these multi-stem trees. They just offer so much to the landscape. This one here says it is part sun. I have mine in full sun, and it does just fine. It needs about 15-foot spacing, hardy to -30 degrees. And just look at this bark. Gorgeous. These river birches are number 7 container for $69.98. They have a green Japanese maple. I have one of these in my garden as well. It does stay green. It has a little bit of fall color with a little bit of a red tint at the edges of the leaves. But look at the caliper on this tree. This is a pretty mature tree. And these are part sun. They're deer resistant. They get 15 to 25 foot tall. They need 15 to 25 foot spacing, hardy to -30 degrees. And I have found the Eastern redbud clumps. So here is one that is a clump, and you can see that it has 3 stems. There's another one there that had 3 stems, but it looks like 2 of them got broken off. And another one there that's 4 stems. Now these I'm sure would be beautiful in the landscape. Look at this. I have a single trunk one, but now after a few years of gardening, I'm really loving the multi-stem. Beautiful. Crabapple Callaway. Crabapples are another really pretty tree. And with crabapples, after they bloom and leaf out in the fall, they get these fruits on them that the birds absolutely love. Now there's 2 varieties of crabapples that you can get in terms of the fruit. There's some that is considered persistent, and the persistent varieties are the ones that drop less fruit, which means more of the fruit stays on the tree, and therefore they will make less mess. So little tidbit I thought was fun about crab apples. So these bloom early to late spring. They need 20-foot spacing, and they're hardy to -30 degrees. And they are full sun. Crab apples are a number 7 container for $84.98. Some shade trees, so this red maple Sun Valley. Look how beautiful that vibrant fall color is. These trees are green year-round, but they do get a beautiful vibrant red in the fall. So these are full sun, large trees. They get 20 to 35 foot tall, and they get 30 to 35 foot wide. And they're hardy to negative 30 degrees. And let's see how much these are. They are number 10 containers for $115. And pin oak, these are full sun, also a type of shade tree. These are pretty large. They get 50 to 70 foot tall. They're drought resistant. And let's see, they need 40 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30 degrees. 10 gallon for $115. And a couple more beautiful fall blooming or fall color maples. The red maple October Glory. This one here, see, it has this beautiful vibrant red color. It gets 30 to 40 foot tall, full sun, and it needs 20 to 25 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30 degrees. And they also have an autumn blaze maple. So here it is. Now the autumn blaze also gets red in the fall, but they are showing us a green picture. So this is a full sun autumn blaze maple. This one's called Jeffers Red, and it has a 50 foot height, and it needs 40 foot spacing, and is hardy to negative 30 degrees. So good variety of maples. I actually want to add one to my garden, but I will have to ask my garden assistant to dig another hole, which he's not always keen on. So we'll see how that goes. And the maples are number 10 container for $115. Some beautiful dogwood. This is the yellow twig dogwood. Beautiful shrub for winter interest. Look at these bright yellow twigs. Really pretty. So these shrubs are not too exciting during the growing season. They just have green foliage, but what they pack and punch is their vibrant winter color. So these are a full sun shrub. This is yellow twig dogwood Flevormia. It is drought tolerant once established. Winter interest is probably the key feature of this shrub, and it has early summer blooms. Their blooms are small, little white blooms, and you really grow these for this yellow twig. They also have red varieties, and they need 7 to 9 foot spacing and hardy to negative 50 degrees. And these here are, let's see, they are $39.98, and they are a number 5 container. Crabapple Prairie Fire. This is a beautiful one. It has almost like a dark foliage with these bright pink berries. Really pretty. This is a full sun, and it gets 20 foot tall, and it blooms early to late spring, needs 20 foot spacing, hardy to negative 30 degrees, and it is all budded up. The crabapple is a number 7 container for $84.98. And some dwarf Cryptomeria globosa nana. I've actually been after one of these since last year, so I'm really excited to find one. And these are part sun shrubs. They are deer resistant. They're 24 to 36 inches in height, and they need 30 to 42 inch spacing, hardy to negative 20 degrees. And what's wonderful about these is that they grow in a ball shape. So they have this nice rounded habit, which is wonderful. And these beautiful, very graceful arching branches. Just lovely. So let's see how much these are. So this Cryptomeria japonica, and it is $34.98, and this is a number 3 container. And check out this cool arborvitae. This one's called Lionsville, and it has a rounded habit as well, like a ball shape. And these are great because unlike the boxwood, these don't have to be trimmed to keep this shape. They naturally grow in a round shape. So these here need full sun. They get to be 24 to 30 inches tall. They are evergreen, and they need 24 to 30 inch spacing, hardy to negative 50 degrees. And they look like they also pick up a bit of a bronze color with the cooler winter temps. And these are number 3 containers for $29.98. So I'm going to bring home a globosa nana, a whipcord arborvitae, and 2 of these creeping juniper all gold. And that brings us to the end of the mid-March inventory at the Home Depot. I hope that you've enjoyed, and thank you so much for hanging out. I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up button, and please consider subscribing so you don't miss any of my future videos. And we'll see you soon.